Good morning. Good morning to you and you and you, and more importantly, you. It is a beautiful Wednesday. It's going to be a beautiful Wednesday, regardless, right? Because it's an even then, even when Wednesday, right? So this morning, I wanted to come real briefly. I want to talk to you about a little small topic. It's called indicators. Yesterday we kind of talked about check, right? And we talked about checking your engine. We kind of talked about there were some things that you should kind of look at. And one of the things was an indicator, right? So when you're going through your process, there's always signs that something needs to be checked. We talked about that a little bit yesterday. We said in order to, get this process going, that sometimes we as individuals, we need to go back and recheck and check things. But how do we know that it's time to do that? Well, this morning I want to talk about three key things about indicators. And go ahead and get your pen and paper out because we want to go ahead and share this with you. This is like a mini little section for you, right? So when you're looking at indicators, there's always something that's going to tell you that it's time to upgrade or change, right? And through this process with me being sick over the last couple of months, I've had to kind of learn that I had indicators that I had to watch. There were things that I had to be able to tell my doctor that was going on that was showing me that I need to check some things out, right? And so when we're talking about that, you have to have some things in place, right? I told you yesterday that one of the key things is to know if your indicators even work. And sometimes we as individuals, we need to seek out assistance and we need to be able to have people to help. And that's one of the things I do as a master life coach is I help other people go through this process and figure out a plan of action that's conducive for them. Do I tell them what to do? No, because a coach doesn't tell you what to do. A coach assists in making the process easier for you. That's what we do. When I tell you that we get into this whole arena and we start thinking about things, but the thing is, do you know your indicators? Do you know why, or when it's time for you to make a change? Well, can I be honest with you? There's a couple of things that the reason why we probably don't want to look at it because the indicators are real hard. They can be real hardcore. They can be something that you really don't want to tackle, right? And one of the indicators I want to talk about is because it's like seven. There are seven key major indicators that it's time for a mind change, right? There's seven major keys. And we're going to talk about three of those today. But the first one I want to talk about is when we're terrified of being wrong. Okay, how many of you out there can raise your hand and say, that's me? I'm afraid of being wrong. When you've gone through the process and you've done all the things that you know how to do to get the job done, and then all of a sudden you're stuck with presenting this and you start thinking about, wait a minute, somebody's going to think this is wrong. I'm worried. I can't focus on this. I could be wrong. Suppose the topic that I'm talking about is wrong. Suppose the answers that I'm giving is wrong. Suppose it should be blue when it should be black, or it should be yellow when it should be green. Could I be wrong? Have I done enough? That's usually an indicator that it's time for you to have some sit down moments with yourself and say, guess what? It's okay. It's okay that through this process that you don't have everything put together, right? Because a lot of us don't. A lot of the things that we go through, we're working through the process. We keep talking about it. Know your assignment, working through the process. This is what happens, and all of these things. But sometimes the reason why we don't move forward is because our indicator says that we may be doing it wrong, or the indicator may say that I'm scared that it's going to be wrong. Your indicator is only letting you know that you need to check yourself, because sometimes you're terrified about being wrong when actually there's no wrong or right answer. One of the things that I tell my students in my positive self-building class, and it's a requirement that you understand it. For those of you that haven't joined yet, you better get your registration in. When I tell you, one of the things I tell my students that when you're in my classroom, there's no wrong or right answer. We all have opinions, right? So being wrong can be moved out of the way. Sometimes we're terrified of that animal because society has programmed us to believe that we got to be right all the time. We got to be right on the point every time. We've talked about it into our churches. We've got to be right all the time. We talk about it in our families. You got to be right all the time. When in actuality, that's one of the things that terrifies us, is being wrong. Suppose you didn't calculate that 1 + 1 is 2. Maybe you calculated because there was something in your view that you couldn't see. The thing is, we have to adjust to that. We have to look at that indicator, and we have to be able to identify that that's one of the things that's keeping us back from moving forward, is being worried. We don't need to be worried because God has everything in position and already planned out for us. What He has designed for us will take place. Number 2, when you are seeing others moving and you feel that you're stuck. Okay, how many of y'all have gone through that? You're feeling like you're seeing somebody else getting ahead in the game and you can't do anything. That's a prime example that your indicator is going off, because sometimes you're not stuck. It's just that our season. Sometimes it's not time yet. Sometimes, if you start thinking about giving birth, a lot of times we give, we see premature births, right? Sometimes when we're seeing other people move ahead in the game, it's not because it's not for us to do, or the things that we want to do is not ready yet. What happens is this. It's the questions that we need to ask ourselves. We start seeing other people moving forward and we start saying, well, how did they do that? Did they forget about me? Why did they leave me behind? And none of those things are true. They're just indicators in your mind that you need to rethink about yourself. Don't worry about everybody else moving forward. Worry about what you're getting ready to do in your life, right? As an indicator, when that light goes off and it starts telling you, oh, everybody's ahead of me and everybody looks better than me. Oh, Bill's got a new wife and Sally's got a new boyfriend. When we start looking at those things and we start saying, well, how did they do it and I didn't? When you see someone getting a new job that you know that you were qualified for, and you begin to say to yourself, well, wait a minute, how did that happen and I didn't get it? That's an indicator that you may need to just take a back set and look at yourself again. You might need to just say to yourself, look, it has nothing to do with me, what they're doing. I have to regroup my mind. I have to rechange how I think about that process. Because at the end of the day, does it really matter if somebody's ahead in the game? Because everything that we go to do, everything that is in society right now, always is an indicator that we got to do better than Joe or Jack, right? When we get to the part that we understand that collaboration is better than competition, right? I know somebody's going to say that doesn't sound right with the NFL teams coming up with the Super Bowl and we got the basketball teams and all of these things, and we kind of say compete. But in actuality, when you're looking at, it's not the fittest, it's not the greatest, it's not the best. What it is who you are. So when you start looking at everybody is ahead of the game, but you take a second look. Take another breath. We talked about that the other day, the freedom to breathe. Take a second breath and say to yourself, could it be that I need to adjust my thinking? Could it be that I'm looking at something in the wrong way? Because my indicator lights are going off, that I'm looking at you moving forward and I'm still here. Could that be that that's an indicator that I need to push my game? In other words, does it mean that sometimes you need to evaluate your process? It's not that somebody's better than you. It's not somebody that's getting ahead of you. Your indicator is letting you know that there's some things that you need to take a look at. When I started doing podcasting, when I started doing what I call the lives, one of the things that I remember was when I came out of P4 was I hated the thought of getting in front of a camera and talking to people because it kind of intimidates me, right? I know it's hard to believe, but it does, because you don't have anybody that you can actually touch and reach out to. Sometimes when the comments are coming through, you don't have time to see them. Why? Because you're on a roll, right? The indicators are telling you that you're not bad. It's that you just need to be able to evaluate your own process. Your indicator light is just letting you know, look, stop looking at Billy Bob and Sally Sue and Cuckoo and Choo Choo across the street. Because guess what? You're not stuck because of them. You're stuck because you're not allowing your mind to move you to your next level. That's what it is. You're not stuck. You're just letting your mind think that you are. The third thing I want to talk about, and then we're going to close, is avoiding the challenge. Okay, that's the third thing. How do you, with your indicator that comes out and says, I'm not going to do it. I don't, because if I do it, I'm going to do it wrong. If I do it, they won't like it. If I do it, it will hurt me. If I say it, it will cause pain in my stomach. If I do it, I'm going to pass out, right? Avoiding the challenge. One of the things about me being sick and realizing that I have to carry an inhaler with me all the time now and worrying about me coughing and things of that nature and making sure I have a bottle of water handy or a cup of water handy is that it's a challenge, right? And the challenge is that I may have to, I have to rethink how I do certain things. But when your indicator light is going off and you start avoiding it, one of the things I had to tell my doctor was I wasn't going to avoid living, right? When you stop and you avoid the challenge itself, it is causing you to delay who you really are. Many of us are sitting out there and the indicator lights are going off. You can't do it. You can't do it. And you're asking yourself, why can't I do it? Can I tell you, stop choosing those things out there that's telling that you can't. It's not going to hurt. It's nothing stops us from moving forward but ourselves, right? Avoiding the challenge doesn't mean that your gifting is going to stop. Because guess what? Can I be honest with you? If God has given it to you, it shall come to pass through you. If God has given it to you, it's going to pass through you. The challenge is not, the true challenge is not looking at the challenge, but what you can do to empower the next person who's going through it. A challenge for yourself is only going to give you strength. A challenge is a part of the process where you get into your next. I don't know about you. I'm super excited. I'm super excited about where we're going right now in this season. I'm super excited for you because I don't want you to let your indicators keep you from moving forward. Your indicators cannot shake you and make you. Your indicators are there to empower you. My friends, look at your indicators this morning and say to them, I know I can, I know I can. Look at your indicators and say, what is this indicator showing me? Because they're good indicators too. When you can get up through all of the things that's happening in your life and still have energy to keep moving, that lets me know that your indicator light is still working. Is your indicator light flawed a little bit because we don't know how to adjust it? The thing I want to tell you about these three things that we talked about this morning is this. Your indicator light is only there to give you a warning to look at something different. It's only your indicator light is telling you there's something that you delayed in. I talked about this yesterday a little bit. Check your engine light. In a couple of vehicles I've owned, my check engine light always seems to be the issue, right? I've taken my vehicle, not my current vehicle, but one of my other cars that I had, the check engine light would never go away. My check engine light would never go away. And guess what that told me? That it was something that I always need to be aware of about my car. I remember taking it to Precision, and I'll give a pop out to Precision on Battleground Avenue. Those guys were the bomb. When I took my car to the Precision, and the guy said, "What's going on, Miss Victoria?" I said, "The indicator light, the check engine light keeps coming on." And he said, "Oh, it's just telling you that something's going on. It's just an indication that something could be." It's just an indication that something could be. He checked my car and he said, "Miss Victoria, unfortunately for you, that check engine light means nothing." He said, "Well, I tell you that you need to be cautious with it when it starts blinking and when you feel like you need a tune up." He said, "But your check engine light has just got a little glitch to it." That light had a glitch to it. So sometimes your indicator light just needs to be upgraded and evaluated. I remember him saying, "What do you want to do with it? Do you want me to change it? Do you want me to put it through the system and fix it?" And I said, "Please," because as long as it's blinking, it's saying to me that something's wrong. And he told me this, and I've carried it. And this morning, when I started thinking about some of the things I want to talk about indicators, he said, "Miss Victoria, just because the light comes on doesn't mean that it's something wrong. It just means that there's something that you need to check." All right, my friends, I'm super excited about being with you on this wonderful Even Then, Even When Wednesday. But I gotta go now. I promised myself that I would only do so much a day until I get back on my feet. And that's it. All right, guys. So if you haven't registered for the Positive Self Building course, Building Your Self-Confidence is coming, and it's going to be the first class is January the 3rd. We're actually hosting our back to school night on what? December the 27th for all our returning and new students. And we want you to be a new student or a returning student to be a part. Come on and be with us. Check out my website, victoriamholland.com. Yep, check out the website. There's more information and there's some other things that's out there that you won't see on Facebook Live. And there's some other things that you won't see even on our YouTube channel, but you will have to go to our website. All right, guys, it's time for me to rock and roll it because guess what? I want you to always remain elevated and not tolerated. And guess what? We will see you real soon.